Sponsored by Dr. Anaya Tony, the Feet Lady at Anaya Health and Wellness Center. Call 360-5166 or 478-7416.
How do you comfort your family who are looking to you as the strong one, and you are ready to run and bawl because nobody knows how empty you are feeling without your loved one who has died? That's the cry of one person who has suffered a loss due to COVID. What do we say to such a person? How can we be of help to them? What do you do if you are that person? These are some of the questions we will attempt to answer on Men Talk, Monday 20th December. So join me, Noel Professor Richards, Huey Coffey, George, and our guest, psychotherapist, counselor Shakir London. It's Grief Talk on Men Talk, Monday 20th December, 6:30 p.m. on Isaac 98.1 FM, The Promise.
You can now see the Men Talk team live on Facebook at Isaac The Promise and YouTube on FBN TV. Sponsored by Dr. Anaya Tony, the Feet Lady at Anaya Health and Wellness Center. Call 360-5166 or 478-7416.
To the men who feel like you're at your wit's end, don't know how you got in this mess, you're standing there looking, saying, where do I begin? Maybe it's too late, too long, too much, too far. I've got good news, something I think you need to understand. It really doesn't.
The time is 6:34. We want to welcome you to Men Talk, right here on this station, Isaac 98.1 FM, The Promise. And for those of you who are new, don't know what this program is about, you've never heard it before, well, really it's a time we set aside every Monday, an hour or so, where we talk. We have men talk about whatever men talk about. The things that men would leave and go to a bar, rum shop, the barber shop, wherever men gather. And we feel free to talk because, it's just men and no women. Well, that's what we try to create. That atmosphere we try to create on radio every Monday at 6:30, where we get the men to open up and share their innermost thoughts, and so that we can be healed, so that we can be better, so that we can learn together as men. And also so that women can understand what men are saying. And for that reason, we do not allow the women to call in and share with us during this time. It's an interactive program, so you, the listener, get an opportunity to call in and share your thoughts, ask a question based on the topic that we're discussing. But we have made it exclusively for men only, so that we could encourage the men to talk. It's not that we don't like the ladies. Ladies, you have valuable contribution, but if we allow you to talk, the men would not talk, and we don't want that. So we're asking ladies to refrain from calling in. However, we do value your contribution, so we have designed a way for you to be a part of the program, and that is you can send us a WhatsApp message, a text message, not a voice note, a text message, and you can take the number down straight away. It's 275-1981, 275-1981. Men, if you have a pen and paper, I want you to take this number down because it's not the usual number. This is our new temporary number, and the number is 463-7208. 463-7208. That's for the men when they are ready to call in, and ladies, of course, 275-1981. My co-host Huey Coffey is not here today. He has the day off, but George is here. And let me just bring in George one time. George, good evening and welcome. George, are you here? Well, I am not hearing you, George, so I don't know. George. All right, we better just call that George. All right, while we try to get George sorted out, George, I don't know if you're hearing me, but we are not hearing you at all. So we're going to try and hook up with you. So let's introduce our special guest today. No stranger to Men Talk. He has been here several times before. I know I have to laugh at myself as I introduce him because I'm listening to the promo. A couple of times I listen to the promo. Now he's a psychotherapist and a counselor, and But you know, words have a way, if you don't say them correctly or use them in the right context, they can mean something different. I keep hearing myself saying psychotherapist. So he is not a psychotherapist, he is a psychotherapist, which is one word, not two words. And so I want to bring him in at this particular time, Mr. Shakir London. Shakir, are you hearing me? Good evening and welcome. Like Shakir is not hearing me either. So something is wrong on this side. Let's see what we can do.
To the men who feel like you're at your wits.
So let me send a nice verse out again. Shakir, are you hearing me?
Don't know how you got in this mess. You're standing there looking, saying, where do I begin?
So we try to make the connection. As you know, we're live on Facebook and on YouTube, as well as on Zoom. So we're trying to see if we could coordinate all of this. So let's go once again. Shakir, are you hearing me this time? Okay, well, I can see him, but I can't hear him. So we're going to try to continue to see if we can connect with him.
And where he's been, and how strong he is, and how able he is, you can.
Okay, so we SOS Shakir, and are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, Professor.
Okay, I am hearing you, but I don't think they're hearing you over the air. Okay, let's go again. Hello, good evening. Shakir? Mr. London. Maybe I have to put a handle to your name. Mr. London, are you hearing me?
Wife, his children did something crazy. Lost your self-esteem.
Okay, so everything seems to be in place, and yet we are not making that connection. So,
been to hell and back, been there, messed up.
the technicians are working feverishly behind the scenes to ensure that we make this connection. Of course, connection is important. Very, very important. Without connection, we will be on our own.
My feet dangling over the very fire.
So here we go again. Shakir, are you hearing me? Well, I'm seeing his lips moving, but I'm not hearing him either. We will get this sorted out. We will get this sorted out. We're not hearing you. But are you hearing us, Shakir? All right, so it seems as though he's hearing us now, but we're not hearing him. Okay, so.
He's a friend to the friendless, father to the fatherless, physician to the broken and hurting. Is there no balm in Gilead?
So let's see if we can try it again. Let's see if we can try it again. Hello?
We got news for you. Your story can't end.
Okay, Shakir, is your mic on? All right, so yes, he said his mic is on.
Get rid of your fear.
His mic is on, but
Stand upon
we're still not hearing him. Let me see if I can do something.
Ezekiel would tell you.
Okay, so folks, if you just joined us, you're on Men Talk on Isaac 90.1 FM, The Promise. We're just having some technical difficulties right now in establishing a connection between our guests, Shakir London, and ourselves, and even with George as well. So we're not too sure what's happening right now. The technicians are working feverishly behind the scenes to ensure that we establish this connection.
The garment of praise for the spirit of heaven. I will restore your family, restore your credit, restore your name, restore your health, restore your body, restore your. Here's your house back. Here are your car keys back. I'll send your wife back home. I'll send your son and your daughter too. It doesn't matter if you start all over.
Let them know, Bishop, that you can.
Do it again.
Let them know, Bishop, you can.
Winners never quit. Mozart and Beethoven, Shakespeare, makes no difference. What's
I'll let you know that today's Men Talk is sponsored by the Feet Lady, Anaya Tony, the lady who's responsible for reflexology.
Hey, David, what you now, boy? How you looking sprightly so? Just the other day you complaining to me about back pain, chest pain, your foot swell up, circulation, all kind of thing. What you take for that, boy?
Jamal boy, I went by the Feet Lady, and not just me, I carry the family too. Boy, the family I straight arthritis, kidney problem, diabetes, circulation, acid reflux. You call all of them just now. I had a pinch nerve too, and a cousin with lupus. And boy, the Feet Lady help you with all of that. And Naya Tony boy, she's no joke. She even helping you if you had a stroke. Call she today boy, don't make joke. Call Anaya Tony, the Feet Lady of Reflexology today at 478-7416.
Okay, so we're back. So we are still working on the problem, and in case you just joined us, it's Men Talk time. It's 6:43. We should have started a little while ago, but we're experiencing some technical difficulties, and they really are technical difficulties, too technical for me. And but our guest is here. He is online, so too is George. Huey Coffee is off today, and we're just trying to see what we can do to establish contact, establish a connection between Mr. Shakir London and ourselves.
it really doesn't matter.
But just to let you know, to give you a little bit background into our program today, last Monday we had Wendell De Leon, and we were talking about dealing with COVID, a COVID Christmas, and some of the things that people are going through at this time that we haven't experienced before, because the pandemic is fairly new. That's about 2 years. This is perhaps the second Christmas, and so much loss has occurred between last year and this year, and it has affected a lot of people, quite a lot of people. So we want to talk about how we are going to, how do we deal with that? And as a matter of fact, the promo that we did already came from a text message that was sent in late last week, Monday, when we were on, and the person asked that question. And we didn't get a chance to address it, and so we thought that we would start with that today. Our guest today, Shakir London, and as soon as we establish a connection, we will start the program.
We got a story for you.
Yeah, so stay tuned.
Listen to me and listen well. I know what it is to have my feet dangling over the very fires of hell. But through it all, I learned some trust in horses and some trust in chariots, but I will remember the name of the Lord. And even though the righteous man falls 7 times, get back up on your feet. Start all over again. He's a friend to the friendless, father to the fatherless, physician to the broken and hurting. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? We got news for you. Your story can't end here. Lose your pain. Get rid of your fear. Stand up on your feet. Get back up again. You can start over. Shona would tell you. Ezekiel would tell you. David will tell you, Daniel will tell you, you'll win if you don't quit. Start over again. Get it back. Get it back. I'll restore unto you the years that the cankerworms, the palmer worms, and the locusts ate up. I will restore unto you the garment of praise for the spirit of heaven. I will restore your family. Restore your credit, restore your name, restore your health, restore your body, restore your, here's your house back, here are your car keys back, I'll send your wife back home, I'll send your son and your daughter too. It doesn't matter if you start all over, do it again.
Let them know, Bishop, you can.
Winners never quit. Mozart and Beethoven, Shakespeare, makes no difference. Once failure in, you can start over again. Winners are made of failures who didn't quit. Do it again.
Hi, Mr. London.
Do it again.
Hi, good evening. Hello?
To the men who feel like you're at your wits' end,
You hearing me?
don't know how you got in this mess, and you're standing there looking, saying, where do I begin? Maybe it's too late,
Hello?
too long, too much, too far. I've got good news.
I hope you have good news. Shakir, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yeah?
Okay. We're still not hearing him. Let's go again. Hello.
Yes.
We're gonna win this war. We're gonna win this battle. Don't worry. We're gonna win this battle.
And where he's been, and how strong he is, and how able he is. You can, I'm a witness. Take the courage of the morning and soar into your dreams. Step into your destiny. Get yourself together and get back up again. To every man who ever gave up on his dream, walked away from his career, his wife, his children, did something crazy.
We keep trying. We keep trying. So let's try again. Hello.
Full of regret. Been to hell and back, been there, messed up, done that.
Okay, Mr. London, are you hearing me?
Story for you. We wanna break
This is interesting. We're gonna get this done. We're gonna get this done.
I know what it is to have my
Okay, can you hear me now? We must do an ad. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, he's not hearing me now.
I'm hearing you.
horses and some trust in chariots, but I will remember
Testing one,
the
two.
name of the Lord. And even though the righteous man falls 7 times, get back up on your feet. Start all over again. He's a friend to the friendless, father to the fatherless, physician to the broken and hurting. Is there no bone in Gilead? Is there no physician there? We got news for you. Your story can't end here. Lose your pain. Get rid of your fear. Stand up on your feet. Get back up again. You can start over. Shona would tell you. Ezekiel would tell you.
We would like to start all over again.
Daniel would tell you.
We would like to start all over
You'll
again,
win.
but not yet.
Don't quit.
Yeah, we will get it right. We will get it right. We still have the time. It's 6:51 and a half.
Get it back.
We're still trying to sort ourselves out to see if we can establish this connection.
Years that the cankerworms, the
Let
palm
me not use the words disconnection. Establish a connection
unto you.
with Mr. London.
Garment of praise for
He's not in London, he's in Trinidad.
I will
He's Shakir London.
restore your
We're just trying to sort things out here. Our technicians are working with all 10 fingers, each of them,
Here's your house
to
back.
ensure that we hook up.
I'll send your wife back.
George, can you hear me? I wonder if George can hear me. George, can you hear me?
Doesn't matter if you start all over.
Let them know, Bishop, that you can.
Do it again.
Let them know, Bishop, you can.
Winners never quit. Mozart and Beethoven, Shakespeare, makes no difference. Once failure in, you can start over again. Winners are made of failures who didn't quit. Do it again. Do it again. got in this mess. You're standing there looking, saying, where do I begin? Maybe it's too late, too long, too much, too far. I've got good news. Something I think you need to understand.
Let's try again. We keep trying to see. Shakir, can you hear us? Mr. London.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so we're hearing him, but not over the air.
Yes, I'm hearing.
So let's see if we can. All right, so yes, Shakir, say something again to me, please.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2 3.
All right, we just don't seem to be getting him. Okay, I think I heard something just now.
1 2.
All right, we're not hearing him on the air. We're hearing him in our instruments here, but not on air.
Get yourself together and get back up again. To every man who ever gave up on his dream, walked away from his career, his wife, his children, did something crazy, lost your self-esteem.
All right, let's go again. Shakir, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes.
All right, so you're hearing me. So I apologize for this, Shakir. We're trying. We've never had this issue before. I don't know what's going on today. So we keep trying. And in case somebody's just joined us and wonder what craziness is going on air, we're trying to establish contact with Mr. London. Say something again, Shakir. Hello. Okay, apparently he's not hearing me now. Shakir, can you hear me? Mr. London in Trinidad.
And even though the righteous man falls 7 times, get back up on your feet. Start all over again. He's a friend to the friendless, father to the fatherless,
You're not hearing me, but I am.
physician to the broken and hurting. Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there? We got news for you. Your story can't end here. Lose your pain. Get rid of your fear. Stand up on your feet. Get back up again. You can start over. Shona would tell you, Ezekiel would tell you, David would tell you, Daniel would tell you, you'll win if you don't quit. Start over again. Get it back. Get it back. I'll restore unto you the years that the cankerworms, the palmer worms, and the locusts ate up. I will restore unto you the garment of praise for the spirit of heaven. I will restore your family, restore your credit, restore your name, restore your health, restore your body, restore your, here's your house back, here are your car keys back. I'll send your wife back home. I'll send your son and your daughter too. It doesn't matter if you start all over.
Let them know, Bishop, that you can.
Do it again.
Let them know, Bishop, you can.
Winners never quit. Mozart and Beethoven, Shakespeare, makes no difference what sphere you're in. You can start over again. Winners are made of failures who didn't quit. Do it again. Do it again. To the men who feel like you're at your
So let's again try something and see if this will work. So, Shakir, can you hear me?
Yes, Prof. I'm hearing you.
Say again.
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes.
All right, apparently this one will work. Yes. Finally, I am hearing you loud and clear. Loud and clear. This has been a little battle. This has been a little battle, but we will win. We will always win. We will always win. Thank you so much for your patience, Shakir.
No problem.
It's good to have you on the inside. Let's jump into the program right away because we've lost some time. We will still be able to make up some time. We were supposed to end at 7:30, so I hope you have a little extra time. First of all, Shakir, I just want you to introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself to the public so that they will know, your qualifications in terms of being able to discuss a topic like this.
Alright, so pleasant good afternoon to everyone that is listening, wherever you are. So my name is Shakir, London. I'm a psychotherapist. I've been in private practice for 8 years now, where I see couples as a professional counseling couples, the elderly. I have clients who are teens, I have clients who are children, and we treat a host of issues, with regards to depression, anxiety, grief, suicidality. I am with Pathway Consultancy Services Limited. I'm the chief consultant of Pathway, and I love what I do. I love what I do, and I'm passionate about helping people. And most importantly, I am a follower of Jesus Christ, my Lord and my Savior.
Amen. Yes. Amen. Wonderful. That's a nice way to round off your qualification. And let me just find out if George is there. George, are you there? We want to make sure that you're part of the program. George, are you there? Okay, we're not getting George. So let's jump into the program one time. So Shakir, again, thank you. Before we even get into the meat of things, Shakir, give your number because sometimes we tend to forget that at the end. So give a number in case people want to contact you after the program.
All right, no problem. My number is 498-3450. 498-3450. Feel free to send me a WhatsApp if you need to get in contact with me, or if you would like to have set up a session in January. All right, but yes.
Wonderful. So let's talk. Shakir, grief. We're talking about grief and dealing with grief, especially at a time like this. Now, grief has become part of our daily lives ever since this pandemic hit. The first thing I want to find out is from you is, do people get accustomed to dealing with deaths and things like this? Because there's some things after a while you become numb to it. Like even now, we hear 20-something people died yesterday, 20-something died today. I remember at the beginning of the pandemic, you used to be there at every media update. You want to hear what's going on. Now people not even sure when the media updates are, anymore. So, but is grief something that one can get accustomed to?
I mean, in a sense, you can. God has designed us in such a way that we can get accustomed to many things. But I think that with grief, it really boils down to things like the relationship with the person that we would have lost. And if we're speaking about the loss of our loved one, that the closeness of that relationship, the nature of the relationship, the type of loss, my personality type, all of these are factors that weigh in on whether I would just be able to gloss over all the numbers that we're seeing every day, or whether it would impact me afresh. And as I said, if it's someone in my home, someone that I'm close to, someone that I love or I care about, then that may not just be something that I would gloss over.
Shakir, is it easy? Do you think is it easier for a woman to deal with grief than for a man? Is it more challenging for men to deal with it?
I lost you there, Professor.
Okay. Are you hearing me now? All right. Yes. Is it easier for a woman to deal with a loss than it is for a man? Is it more challenging for us men to deal with that?
I don't like to classify, or I don't want to make a general statement and say it's easier for women, because some women deal with grief not as well as some men. You're hearing me?
Yeah, Shakir, I hear you. So you just go ahead and talk. We still have some technical things we're trying to sort out behind the scenes, but we're hearing you. Go ahead.
All right, okay. So I think it's fair to say that quite a number of men have a difficult time navigating grief, and a lot of that boils down to how a man is able to process his emotions. One is men more like or more in a position or able to face what he's feeling. Identify why he's feeling the way that he's feeling. Being able to confront it, being willing to deal with it. For a lot of men, they've learned to push all the emotions down below. And so they hide them, they push them away, they lock them away. And when a man loses someone that he loves dearly, the temptation can be to push those feelings down. Because that is what he has grown accustomed to dealing with emotions. I don't know how to face it. I don't break down. I don't cry. That is not something that I'm familiar with. And so I'm in a place now where I'm overwhelmed, and I don't know how to deal with that as a man. It is not something that I'm accustomed to facing. So that could be a real challenge for many men. A real challenge, and a man might try to be strong. He may want to feel like a man must be strong in the midst of grief. But there are some real challenges with that.
The promo that we did, it came from a text that we received last week, where we were talking about this, coping with COVID, and the person sent in the text, I don't know if it's a male or female, but they were saying that, what do you do when everybody expects you to be the strong man? They're looking to you for strength, for help, for support. They're looking to you to, give them that hope that things will get better. And you're the one that's doing that, but you want to scream, you want to bawl because you're feeling it too. And you're feeling the grief of the loss, and then you're feeling the burden of having to support others, and you don't have the support that you need. And so how does one get, where do you look for support? Where do you find it? Because everybody's looking to you, and you want to be strong for people, you want to be there for people, but who's going to be strong for you? So where do you find that kind of support?
Professor, is important for persons that for let's say that is me. Let's say I am that person that I have to be strong for everyone. I have to find someone that I can talk to about what I am going through. I have to find someone that I can call, and I don't even have to say any words. I can just break down and start crying, and they would understand, and they would listen and give me the support that I need. And ideally, one should be able to find that within one's family, but that isn't always the case. But it is important that even if I'm trying to be strong for everyone in my family, that I am not negligent of my own feelings, and I am not pushing all of my emotions aside in order to help others, because that is going to come back to cause trauma and challenges as time passes. I have to face my grief. I have to face my hurt, my loss, in the midst of just as anyone else. And it is good to have a family member that you can lean on, that you can cry with. Yes, you have to be strong, but it's okay to, and I'm using this term loosely, it's okay to be weak. It's okay to cry when I'm overwhelmed, when it's too much. And we feel sometimes as parents, I have to always have this armor on. We have lost someone in our family, and the children are looking on, and I have to be strong. When they look at me, they mustn't see me crying. But it's important for children to see that the parents are grieving too. And I have seen in my practice where children tell themselves, mommy and daddy, they're okay. They're fine. They seem they've gone back to normal. But the reality is that the parents are going through a difficult time too. And it's important for me to show my children, yeah, this is difficult. We will get through this. I'm being strong. We will get through this. We will not give up. But this is difficult for me too. It's hard for me. Yeah, but I am
wouldn't
here
that
for you.
wouldn't that cause them to lose hope? Because remember, they're looking to you for hope. They're looking for you to tell them, well, okay, it's going to be all right. If they see you crying, doesn't that signal to them, well, look,
things mightn't get better, you know. Because if daddy crying, I'm talking about daddy now, talking about the head of the home, the father. If daddy is crying, it means daddy can't help me. All right. And that's the way a child might look at it. And so as a man, you might say, you know what? I want to be able to ensure that they smile again, or that they feel that there is hope again. So I had to hold it, and no matter how I feel, I want to scream, but I have to hold it together for the sake of my family. And that might be the way he's feeling.
I think, Professor, that is a faulty cognition, a faulty way of thinking, you know, that me crying says to everyone else, you can't rely on me, that I have given up. Yeah, it's a faulty way of thinking. And many men think like that, you know, so I can't allow them to see me cry. But I think what has to underpin that is communication. I may be crying, but I can tell my son, I can tell my daughter, my wife, my whoever, you know, we are going to get through this, you know, because Jesus wept. He was able to express what he was going through. And we ought not to be ashamed or feel like crying communicates that I have given up all hope. That is not what it communicates. And when we see women crying, is that what we believe, that they've given up all hope? You know, or is it that when a man cries, we believe that we have to check our cognitions, our beliefs about a man being emotional and being able to cry and share what he's going through, you know? But him being able to communicate, yes, I'm expressing what I'm feeling on the inside, but I have not given up. And my God is still sovereign. And that is what you want your children to see. Because they especially the little boys and the girls too, they ought to see that it's okay to go through difficult times and to feel sad, but to pick yourself up and to trust in God in the midst of that, as opposed to, no, you must never feel sad. No, you must never cry. A big man don't cry, you know, and he's going through all this turmoil in the inside, and he's struggling, and he has nowhere to resolve what he's feeling on the inside. And we have a lot of that in society right now, with regards to grief, and even outside of that, you know. So the way we train our family and the way we interact and in the midst of grief, you know, that has to change. You know, I ought not to be afraid to express the pain, the hurt, the sadness, but to trust in God and to demonstrate that and to communicate that.
Yes, thank you so much. And well, before I say that, I just want to let you know, folks, you're listening to Mentor on Isaac 98.1 FM, The Promise. And we are speaking to Shakir London, psychotherapist. And I have to remember that word is one word, psychotherapist, one word. And you know, we're talking about dealing with grief. You know, Shakir, as a man, you want to be a hero in the eyes of your children, in the eyes of your wife, and sometimes even in the eyes of the community. You want to be a hero. You want to be the one to be standing strong, even if you're the cheese and you stand alone. You want to be the one that everybody looks to. And I think sometimes in wanting to be that, this is what causes us to be hard and unfeeling. But yet, I think when we're alone, that's when we break down. Now the thing is, you said that we need to have a family member that we can go to and talk to, but sometimes that isn't always possible. So what do you do? Are there people out there? Do you think we can connect with other people? And let me ask you this as well. Is it okay for a man to connect with a female, you know, to get that kind of support? Because you're a man and you're going through your stuff, but and this female says, you know, I understand what you're going through, brother. I understand what you're going through. And you know, let's talk. Is that advisable? Is that dangerous? How do you deal with that?
All right. So let me see the first question that you asked.
Yeah, I was talking about being a hero. You know, you
Right.
want to be a hero to your children. You want your children to look and say, you know, daddy is strong. Daddy is always there for us. We can go to daddy at any time, or your wife would be able to come to you as a pillar. All right, and you know, so you want to maintain that image. You want to maintain, you know, that you don't cry, that you're unbreakable. Okay, and that is why sometimes, you know, you put up that front, and you're not doing it for your sake. You're doing it for their sake. Right, so that's what I'm saying. And I know basically you may have answered that question before, but I'm just bringing this in. I'm just adding this into the mix. The fact that we ourselves is not so much that they depend on us and they look into us to be strong. We want to be strong for them. We want to be the hero. We want them to look, after they've come through this, to say, Daddy brought us through this thing. And that sometimes is what I think we face as men. This is what we want.
Prof, I believe that if there's nobody that you can talk to, then and you are going through a really difficult time, then you may need professional help. And when I say professional help, a therapist provides a safe space where the man can come and share what he's going through. Because that sharing, when we talk about processing grief, being able to talk about how I feel and what I'm experiencing is a very, very big part of processing grief. In the Bible, there's the whole Psalms, David expressing all the pain and the hurt, and that is so, so important. For a lot of men, there's nobody that I can talk to. The feelings are there, I'm going through, but who do I talk to? And so I have to find some way, someone to be able to express, to let this thing out, and if there's no one, absolutely no one, then find a therapist, and at least you pay for that opportunity to share anything you need to share and process whatever you need to go through. The second part of your question is if
the second part of the question really is, instead of finding a therapist, you find a female.
A female.
A female. Yeah. And she says, I have been through this, or my boyfriend or my husband has been through this, so I know what to do. Come talk to me. How should I approach that? It may not be a fair question to ask you, but
yeah, you have to be careful, Professor. You have to be careful of that, and I'm sure that I'm assuming everyone listening is aware of that, because when you are vulnerable, it is easy for compromising situations to take place, and that could be male, female, male, So you have to be careful. I say, go to your wife, go to your mother, but be careful. I mean, it doesn't always have to be something that could end up in an uncomfortable situation, but just to safeguard yourself, especially if you're married, go to your spouse, just to safeguard yourself.
As you're talking about going to your spouse, Shakir, suppose, is it okay if your spouse is seem to be handling it better than you as a man? Is it okay for you to lean on her, as a man? Because again, your daddy, your husband, your father, and of course people would look to you. How would it look to see that, you're breaking down and your wife is standing strong? Is it okay for you to depend on her, to pull the family through this situation?
Professor, I think that sometimes we get so caught up in how this thing looks from the outside. What would it look for the man to be crying and his wife to to appear to be standing strong in the midst of grief, and everybody seeing that he's leaning on her, and at the end, who cares what people think, Professor? I want to say that we all experience grief, or we all grieve in different ways. We don't all grieve the same way. For some people, they are more, they cry more. For some people, they tend to want to hold it in. For some people, they talk a lot when they're going through grief. For some people, they isolate, they pull away, they need some time away. We go through grief in different ways. Some people try to get back to life as quickly as possible. Some people like to stay in that place. People grieve in different ways. And so to look at that scenario and believe that the man is having a difficult time and his wife is not, could be a very inaccurate way of looking at that. Because if we see her standing still and she's not crying, do you know, Professor, that she could be the one that is really struggling because she has not been expressing what she's going through on the inside? And so where the man has let all these tears out and he's had somebody to support him, and she's there and she's wrestling on the inside, and she feels that she has to be strong, but she's going through a difficult time. So we have to be careful of how we judge situations like that, where we look and how we perceive it. Yes, I know that we are concerned with this image, the image of what a man ought to look like, and a man's ego and a man's strength. But support ought to go both ways, you know, and some your wife may cry or the husband may cry, but it's important that your spouse, you know, they're there for you and they're able to give you the support that you need. I think that is the important thing. That even if the man breaks down, that he knows that his wife is there as a shoulder that he can lean on, and she isn't going to judge him for his grief. She isn't going to judge him for the tears that he shares. And I know for a lot of men, that goes to part of it. You know, she's going to look at me different. I am never going to live this down. She's always going to remember this. These are things that men have to deal with. When you hear a man say, "I don't cry," don't cry. I ain't crying for 4 or 5 years. You know, the man boasts that. Does that mean that he isn't hurting on the inside, or he isn't going through a difficult time, or he isn't grieving? The answer is no. So perceptions, Professor.
I hear you. Folks, we're talking to Shakir London, psychotherapist, and you're listening to Men Talk on Isaac 90.1 FM. The Promise and Men Talk today is sponsored by the Fifth Lady, Anaya Tony, and she's responsible for reflexology. Also to let you know that we are live on Facebook, and on Facebook is Isaac the Promise, and on YouTube, FBN TV, you can view us even now while we chat, and or you can choose to listen to us on Isaac 90.1 FM, The Promise. So, Shakir, before we open up the lines to take call, I want to find out from you as well another question. You went through it kind of quickly about how people deal with grief, and I wonder if we could go back to that a little bit, because people deal with grief in different ways. So if you could just slow down a little bit and just give us a couple of the ways that people deal with grief. So when we see it, we can recognize it and not judge people, you know, for how they deal with situations.
Right. So Professor, firstly, you know, I'm sure people would have heard about these stages of grief, and we all go through different stages. You know, we go through the shock stage, the initial finding out that you would have lost someone, the bargaining phase. If I had done this, they might still be alive. If I had gone here, if I should have checked them when I wanted to check them, I should have made the call. You know, we go through that bargaining phase. There's also the anger stage, where I can be angry at the person for dying. I can be angry at the doctors. I can be angry at my family. I can be angry at the funeral home. I can be angry at myself. Then there's the depressed phase, you know, that state of sadness, where I can be really, really sad and really, really emotional, you know, and I can go into that phase of acceptance. And you can go from one phase to the next in no particular order, and you can go forward to anger, and you can bounce back again to depression, and then you can go to bargaining. There's no real linear progression that one may go through. You know, usually the final stage, however, is acceptance. I've come to that place of accepting the loss. When we talk about treatment, it's important to understand what stage of grief I'm in, because sometimes, you know, we are in a stage, and we want to know, why am I so angry? I'm angry at everyone. That is a normal part of the grieving process. And so if you're going through one of these stages, the denial, the bargaining, the anger, the depression, you know, these are normal stages of grief. You know, and, you know, Professor, if we're talking about treatment, and I think that is kind of what you alluded to, what does that look like? The first one is being able to talk about it. You know, there's no set time for one to grieve. You know, we can't say like after 2 years you should be, you know, in the acceptance stage. You know, there's no set time for it. What we can say is that at the end of a year, you know, the way that where you are at the end of a year should be different from where you would have been at the start of the grieving process. Yeah, so at least you would see some measure of progress. The extreme pain wouldn't be as extreme as it was. Yeah, you would notice that change, that progression during the stages of grief, right? So writing, talking about your loss, There's no quick fix. People always want a shortcut. How can I shortcut what I'm going through? How can I move past this? There's no quick fix for it, the grieving process is the grieving process, and it's going to take some time. And in this time where we're experiencing so much loss, we are going to take some time to get over this. And it's not just the loss of loved ones, but the loss of freedom, the loss of your psychological and emotional well-being, right? We're losing a lot. We're losing a lot, right? Don't the blame. Be careful of placing blame, on yourself. And then many people that get stuck. There's something that we call complicated grief. When I get stuck in a stage, I get stuck in a stage of anger or in a stage of depression. I have to be very careful of complicated grief, getting stuck 4, 5, 6 years, and I have not come to a place of acceptance. But I can talk more about that in a little bit, because I know we're pressed for time. Allow yourself that time to heal. Don't blame yourself. Don't blame others. Resolve that. I have to resolve this. And that can happen in therapy as well. If I'm stuck, I'm resolving this. I'm facing my emotions. I am forgiving who I need to forgive. I'm crying. I'm letting it out. I'm not keeping it in. Staying connected with family is so important, because remember, the whole family can be grieving, but in different ways. Are we talking about it? Are we having conversations about our loss and what we would have gone through? Are we supporting each other? Are we there for each other? Are we checking in? Are we checking in on our children? Because children go through grief too, and they may appear normal, but the grades may drop. Are we checking in with our children? And am I getting, or do I need professional help? It's been a year, it's been 2 years, and I'm still stuck here. I may need to get professional help. And even if I'm not stuck, it's good to be able to talk to someone to process what you are going through, what you are feeling, especially in the event of multiple losses, as is present and prevalent now. That could be a real challenge. And then your relationship with God, the sovereign God, your faith that He is in control, and in spite of what we're seeing, that God is in control, and you're trusting Him, because God cares about our grief. So, Prof, I will stop there, and I know that you may have some calls and questions. There's so much to talk about on the topic of grief, yes. But I will pause and yeah.
Thank you so much, Shakir, for the question so far, folks. If you want to call us now, we're going to open up the lines. Please take this number, because it's not the normal number. The number to call is 463-7208. 463-7208. That's the number to call. Remember, we're taking calls from men only. Ladies, if you want to interact with us, send us a WhatsApp to 275-1981. 275-1981. Men, call us at 463-7208. 463-7208. And while we wait on the call, Shakir, what are the things that and I think you mentioned it in one of the phases. Someone may be saying, it's my fault. I'm the one that brought COVID into the house. I'm the one, if I didn't go out there, if I was wearing my mask, if I was practicing the 3Ws, if I didn't do, and because, because of that guilt, you feel it's heavy on you. And, and so what do you do to get out of that? Is it that you start talking to yourself but you say, how do you reassure yourself, especially when it might be a fact that it is you that brought in the virus into the house, and because of that, somebody would have passed on because of that. That is a real challenging thing.
Yeah. Professor, I have seen where because of guilt, years passing and persons coming in for therapy because of something that happened years before, and the guilt of it, that they have not released themselves, it eats away at them slowly for years, until it comes to a point where they can no longer ignore it, repress it, run from it, and drown it in substances or whatever. So, I recommend for persons who would be living with that type of guilt, especially the belief that it was your fault that they get professional help, that they see a therapist, because it's important for what the therapist does is that we go back into the root of that guilt, the root of those feelings. Yeah, because those feelings are based on a belief. I believe that this was my fault, that I did this and I messed up, and I have to come to a place, Professor, where I can say, I forgive me. And that is easier said than done. And for many, many people, they hold on to, even if they know they should or they ought to, because God can't forgive you, I hold on to that because I blame myself. And I can't allow myself to come to the place where I can say, I forgive me. And that could be a very, very difficult thing to do. And without professional help, it may take years and years and years. And still, I see where it comes to the surface and it affects relationships. It affects your job and your sense of self. Your sense of self is like living with a thorn in your body that you can't get rid of. Yeah. People carry that type of guilt around for years.
Folks, you're listening to Mentor on Isaac 90.1 FM. Promise the lines are open to take your calls if you wish to call us. The number is 463-7208-463. Maybe you have a question. Maybe you're going through what we're talking about. You're experiencing grief. You're experiencing a challenge in that area. You have a question, or you just want to share with us how you're feeling, what you're feeling, and what you're going through right now. Call us at 463-7208, 463-7208. And of course, ladies, you can WhatsApp us 275-1981, 275-1981. We have psychotherapist Shakir London in the house, and he's here to share with us. Let's take a call. Hello, good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hello? I'm not hearing anything.
A second. All right. So here we go. All right. Just start all over again, please. Since Shakir wasn't hearing you.
He was a demanding woman. Working for $1 a week. And so the road is a problem. When you have nothing to do and you go on the road to be out your head, there's a problem. How could you deal with that situation? Yeah.
Okay, well, it's not directly related to what we're talking about, because what we're dealing with is grief. Shakir, I don't know if you heard the question, because I see you're kind of straining to hear.
Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
He was saying, how do you deal with a demanding woman when you go on the road to make $1? Maybe he's a taxi driver or something, and maybe she's never satisfied. I know that's kind of off topic, So let's see if we get another call first, and then we could come back to that, because what we're dealing with today, folks, is grief. How do you deal with grief, especially as a man at this time? If we have time, we'll come back to that particular question. So if you have a question, please call us at 463-7208, 463-7208. And ladies, if you have a question or comment, 275-1981, 275-1981. And while we wait on the call, Shakir, I remember some years ago, in fact, let me just state, in about less than a week, what is today's Monday? Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. In 5 days' time, my wife and I were celebrating our anniversary. We got married on Christmas Day 18 years ago. We celebrated 18 years. And like any normal couple, you have challenges along the way. And one of our biggest challenges is something that I did. And they say, confession is good, right? Her mother passed away, I think sometime in 2015. And what happened with me is that a few months after, I found that it's taken so long. You're still grieving for your mother. I don't understand. Your mother is gone. I mean, you're a big woman. Why just you have to be like this all the time? And I didn't quite understand. As far as I was concerned, it was time for that. And at that time, I thought that nonsense. to stop. It's time for you to stop grieving. It's time you're dead and gone. You're an adult. You're not a little child. You should have gotten over this before. And that caused some contention, between my wife and I. In fact, that's probably the biggest challenge we've had over the years. I had to learn after that there's no set time for grief. But just talk about that a little bit for me, please, because some of us feel so. Some of us feel, hey, listen, a month, 2 months, it's about time you get over that, man. Why you still thinking about that? Why you still worried? Why you still crying? Why am I seeing the tears still? Let's talk about that just a little bit, Shakir.
All right, so I want to start by saying that the length of time that one takes to get to the stage of acceptance is determined by several things. It can be determined by personality, by age, health, attachment style, genetic makeup, the number of losses, the nature of the relationship, the type of loss. So there are several things that can weigh in on that, and if you were to look at it as a picture that you've painted of your world, of what your world looks like, when someone significant dies, I now have to recreate this picture of my world in the absence of this person. And when one believes that this person is integral to my picture, then how do I put that back together again? All the pieces are scattered. How do I put this picture back together again? This person has to come to the place where they can face life or move forward in life with the knowledge that this loved one is no longer here. And that can be a very difficult task and daunting task for many, many people. And as I said, it is influenced by several factors, but let's say it is someone close to you, your mom, your dad, a child, your spouse. Some people spend years, 10, 15 years before they can come to that place of acceptance. I'm okay. And so if I rush, I'm trying to rush because I expect that they should be finished with this, that could cause, as you said, it could cause a lot of contention. It can cause a lot of damage because that person has to reform this picture of life in their mind, in their minds without that loved one. And it can take some time. It's not like a cut that could just heal and, emotional hurt. Yeah.
So you're saying that we should give the person that time to grieve, because I certainly didn't understand that. I really found that, hey, this is way too long for you to be grieving for your mother. I mean, you should know that. And as I told, I said, you're not a child. You're not a little child, and to say you're missing mommy. Even though my mother-in-law lived with us, so she was part of the family, more or less. But I felt like if I could get over it, it's about time for you. I know it's your mother, not mine. But I figure it's time for you to get over this thing. It's been too long.
Two things I wanted to touch on, Professor, quickly. One, being very careful what we say. So even in that statement, you're not a child. As subtle as that might be, that can be a real blow to someone. Can you imagine a wife telling the husband who crying, you're not a child, he's a man, come man up. The damage that can do. The next thing is that we also have to be very vigilant for complicated grief. That is the grief that is prolonged and intense, and it's like I cannot move past what has happened. 2-3 years in, and I'm still crying as if it happened yesterday, and I cannot move past it. Complicated grief. I'm stuck in the stage of depression or anger or whatever. These are things that we also have to look out for and make sure that we get treated, what we treat with. Yeah.
Thank you so much, folks. The lines are open. I know this is a kind of topic that is very touchy, and it might be hitting home. But we want to give you the opportunity. We only have a few more minutes to go. The number to call is 463-7208. 463-7208. And ladies, of course, you could WhatsApp us at 275-1981. We're talking about grief and dealing with grief. Again, we only have a few more minutes, but in the meantime, Shakir, is it okay for someone who is going through that? You talk about seeing a therapist and that sort of thing, but what about talking to somebody who's going through the same thing? Will that help, or does that make it worse? I suffered a loss and you suffered a loss, and we come together. Can we really help one another in a case like that?
I mean, yes, Professor. I mean, talking about it is, I mean, as I said, that is one of the big steps. So, if I have someone that I can talk to about it, and they would have gone through as well, then I have someone that I can lean on, someone that understands where I'm at and what I'm going through.
Yeah, but
And
suppose
that,
they're going through the same thing too. They are
yeah,
actually in it, and they haven't come through it, but they're experiencing it too.
right. So we can talk about the loss, we talk about the hurt, the pain, but it's also very important to talk about the great moments, the great experiences. And so we want to channel our conversations in a particular way, because what people usually do is they talk about the funeral and they talk about how the person died and what happened and the doctors and what I should have done and what I didn't do. Those are the things that we talk about. But shifting our focus to what are some of the great moments that we had? What are the good times that we had? I will share a quick story. My brother, he died, I think it's 3 years now. And I shared a story when at the funeral. It was right after the earthquake that would have happened in Trinidad, the big earthquake. And he had just bought this big, I think it's like a 50-inch or 50-something inch TV, and and the earthquake happened, and my mom was calling him, where are you? Where are you? I'm not seeing you. The house is shaking, whatever. No response, no answer. After the shaking is done, she goes to his room and she finds him hugging, his toilet, so his hands are wrapped around the TV. And he's holding the TV because he doesn't want the TV to fall. And he tells moms that, he has not finished paying off for the TV as yet. So he can't afford for the TV to fall down. And it's something, it's a story that every time I think about it, it puts a smile on my face. It's funny to me, to reflect on it. And I'm saying that to say, Professor, we have to be able to reflect on the great times. That is where we need to spend our mental energy on the good times, the good moments, the good memories, the legacies that would have been left behind by this person. Yeah, as opposed to the hurt, the pain, the experience, the call that you got. And you may have to go through that as well, process that. But if I'm stuck there, then when do I appreciate the life that they would have lived? Yeah.
One more question that I have before we wrap up, and that is, can we prepare for grief? Can we prepare? You may not experience it now, but is that something you talk about with your family? If one of us should pass, what do we do? How, that sort of thing. Is that advisable to do? Because some people might find that spooky. Talking about if I'm gone, and almost, I think sometimes people think if you talk about that, it means you're calling death or you expect it. So tell me, should families sit down and talk about things like this?
Well, first of all, Jesus conquered death. So when we talk about spooky, Jesus already dealt with that. But I think it's important to have those types of conversations, because we are all alive. If you're listening, it means you're alive, but we know that, unless like the rapture takes place or something like that, there is going to come a point in time when mother, father, husband, wife, son, daughter, somebody's going to pass. It is inevitable. It will happen, and talking about it, I think can help to prepare persons moving forward. I can't put my head in the sand. I can't put my head in the sand. And it's something that I do with clients when we're dealing with that type of thing, preparing your son for the time when you are not going to be here anymore, and having that conversation with him, because he is going to, your son and your daughter, they are going to remember that conversation when that time comes. Once God grants them life and they are here, they are going to remember those conversations. What daddy wanted, what mommy wanted, how they felt about that. Yeah. What is the expectation of me after they've gone? What is my wife's expectation of me after she's died or after I have died? What is my it's important to have those conversations, because when you have gone through the loss, you look back, Professor, you look back and those memories come to the surface. Those memories. I have a memory of my dad, before he died, my father, of us going for a drive to the beach, and I was upset because I wanted to go and lie with friends. I was a teenager. I wanted to go and lie with friends, but we had to go and take a drive together, and we did that, and it was around the time of Passion of the Christ, the movie and stuff. And I remember that time, and I look back then, because he would make statements like, we're not always going to have these times, Professor. He would make statements like that. We aren't always going to have these times together. Now, as subtle as that might have been, it was his awareness that a time would have come where he may no longer be here as daddy, and I go back to those times, and I appreciate those times all the more because of the importance of it, and the significance of having family together and doing things as a family. I could not understand it back then, but I understand it now. And now when it matters, when I have my family, now is when it matters. Yeah. So,
Shakir, we run out of time. I want to say thank you so much for guesting with us today and sharing. I want to give you a minute to just give some closing thoughts, and you can give your number again if people want to get in, get your services. So, right ahead.
Yes. So, the time that we are living now is a difficult one, and we are seeing a lot of losses, particularly with loved ones. Yeah, and it's important that we as families that we talk about what we are going through, because there can be a lot of complicated grief, not getting to see the body in the funeral, the COVID, the whole COVID situation and what that looks like in terms of the funeral, the closure via the Zoom platform. These are things that can be very traumatic for people, for children, for adults, and so we have it's a time where the population can be traumatized, can be going through a lot. We have to be willing as men to talk about what we are feeling, to express the pain and the hurt, the sadness that we have, to not be afraid or ashamed to express it, to not bury it, and lock it away. Yeah, bring it to the surface. Let's deal with it. Let's work on healing together. My contact number is 498-3450. That's 498-3450. If you are interested in making an appointment or setting up a session for on the topic of grief, feel free to make contact with me. I've closed off my practice until the end of the year, but I'm starting back promptly in January. So feel free to reach out to me, and we can set an appointment. Professor, thank you so much for the time this evening to be on and to be able to share with the listeners on the topic of grief. I really appreciate it. No problem.
Shakir. Thank you for what you've shared. I know a number of people will have been helped by it, and I'm trusting and hoping that they do accept your services, because we really do have a lot of people experiencing grief and not knowing how to deal with it, especially at this time, Christmas time, when it's supposed to be a happy time. A number of people is not happy with them at all. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. Blessings to you.
Thank you, Professor. Take care.